All right, you're live on Facebook and Instagram. Don't carry your mistakes around with you. Instead, place them under your feet and use them as stepping stones to rise above them. Hi, y'all. Thanks so much for joining me. In less than 15 minutes, I'm going to be sharing with you a mistake that I made and what I decided to do when I found out about that mistake. And by the way, happened today. So please like and share this video if you get value from it. Because today, talking about a mistake, yeah, it was a tough thing that I went through. But I know all of us, we do go through making mistakes. But it's really what we do afterwards is what makes a huge difference. And I really wanted to share with you what I experienced today. So I'm Dr. P. I'm a strategic business coach, and I've been a school psychologist for about 10 years in K-12 schools, served on professional organization committees, and taught at the master's level in the psychology program. Online, over 10 courses I've taught, right? And I'm also a board advisor for CapDebt Learning. And hey, we make mistakes every day. And my big one was today, and it was actually this morning. And it was this morning when I found out about a big mistake that I made. And I mean, when it happened, my face turned red. I was like sweating. I was like so happy that nobody was around me at the point in time, because I really was so embarrassed about it. It was like, oh my gosh, how is it that I made such a mistake? And then when I found out about it, I was like, you know what? I got two choices. I could either fix it or ignore it and hope that nobody caught on, right? Because it's like, oh my God, kind of like one of those things that sweep it under the rug, nobody knows it happened, and you could just ignore it and maybe it'll go away. But fixing a mistake also too was not in my plans for today. But with what I was faced with this morning, I really had a decision to make. Fix it or ignore it and hope that nobody else could catch on to it. So that's what I want to share with you in this video, what I actually ended up doing. As I said, I was faced with making a decision between two things. So don't carry your mistakes around you. Instead, place them under your feet and use them as stepping stones to rise above them. I found this quote online today, and I figured it was very fitting to what was happening with me today. I'm not quite sure who said it. I looked as much as I could, and I just kept seeing the same quote, but I didn't see necessarily who was the original person who said this. But it really resonated with me today, and I wanted to share it with y'all as well. So, very positive quote, and kind of goes along with what I decided to do, kind of hinting at what I actually ended up doing. Because when this morning started, I felt really good about this email automation thing that I did yesterday, because I was like, oh my gosh, it went so great, it went off without a hitch, things were good. And I decided when I came in this morning to work, I was actually going to check to see how that automation was doing, because I said, okay, things went really well with how I actually sent it off yesterday, but I wanted to see how exactly it was doing. And by the way, this is not going to be a bashing session about an employee, a contractor, or a company that I work with. That's not the purpose of this, okay? I'm just sharing about a mistake that had happened to me and how I actually was able to overcome, kind of telling you what I did, how I overcame that mistake. So email automation, I think, is great, and it can save us a lot of time. But there's some things that we really need to pay attention to when we're setting up the email automation. And one of those many things I learned today. I really did. So when it comes to emails are one of those things that people either see or they don't see, right? And not everybody checks their emails. I learned that in the school system. I learned that as a professor. Not everybody checks their emails every day. But then when it comes to business owners do check their emails frequently, because they want to see about some updates, something they've sent out, communication, subscription. There's so many things that we need to be checking our emails for. So that's something that kind of hit me, like, okay, I didn't send an email out to just people. I sent them out to business owners. And it was a mass email that I sent out too. I'm telling you, I really felt like I was standing in the 3 o'clock sun in the afternoon. I mean, if you understand that sun, especially if you're like a southern on the east coast side, when you're in that sun at 3 o'clock, it beats down on you. Oh my gosh. And you just, the heat and the humidity gets to you. And you're just so flustered, so heated up, really. You're sweating from every corner of your body, really. So it was like, that's how I felt when it hit me this morning, the mistake I made with my email automation. I was like, oh my God, how on earth did I do that? You know, and like I said, the funny thing is I felt so positive about that email when it first went out. I was like, yay, it was great. And that, you know, I did this thing. Hi, thanks for joining on Facebook. You can say hi and where you're joining from. I'm talking about a mistake that I made today and the decision I decided to do when I found out about that mistake. And it's not comforting when you find out about a mistake you made. I mean, I've yet to find anybody who feels comforted about a mistake they made. Because for me, I felt so embarrassed. And like I said, it was like standing in the 3 o'clock sun in the afternoon and just feeling all heated up and sweating, right? It was really overwhelming, that negative feeling of, oh my gosh, that embarrassment that was coming over. So I realized that as I was reviewing how my campaign was doing, I was looking at this list of recipients. And oh, by the way, the reason why I was also looking at list of recipients is because I'm also looking at ways to improve my sales process as well, right? And if you run automation, I'm not sure which system you're using. There's several different ones out there that you can use where you can track how a person is doing in your sales process. A person that goes from interested to lead to prospect to actually purchasing and being even a repeat customer, right? So we're always looking at ways to improve our process, right, for the sales. So that was another reason why I was looking at certain factors in how my campaign was doing. So I'm looking at it, and as I'm looking at it, there was this thing that was nagging at me, and I was like, oh my gosh, something don't feel right about this campaign. I was like, something isn't adding up to me, you know. And then I received an email, and that email really triggered me to explore that nagging feeling. And I decided to use that person as an example. So I did. And that's when that heat, if you thought it could have gotten any hotter, it got hotter because that heat turned up. I'm not telling you a lie, because as I checked for that person in the list where I knew that person should have been, that person wasn't there. And I'm like, but wait, they had to be on that list because they got the email. They had to be. So I knew the other list that I sent to yesterday, I knew how that was set up because I work with a company and we set that up for a specific reason. So I knew how people were going to be added to that list. And I was like, nope, no, babe, no, they're not on that list. They have to be on this first one because that's the one I know this person had to have been on. So for some reason, I decided I'm going to check the same list for the same person who wasn't there before, but I'm still going to do it again. And I did. Why I thought I was going to get a different response? Don't know. But I did. Maybe I was in some kind of denial or something because I was like, they have to be on this list, because if they weren't on that list, it meant that I would have had to have made a mistake. And I was like, nah, there's no way I made a mistake because they have to be here. But they weren't. The second time around, they still weren't here. So then I said, okay, I guess I have to go back to list number 2. I said, no, I can't do that. So let me just do a global search. I don't know why I thought doing a global search would make a difference, but I did. And I was so excited because, yay, I found the person. I was like, yes, I knew I wasn't wrong. So I went and I clicked on them. And I said, well, here they are. I know they're here. So I figured if I click on their information, I'll find out which list they're added to. I would, right? So that's what I did. I clicked on their name, and then I scrolled down on the details, and I saw the list they were on. And when I tell you my mouth dropped so hard because I was like, holy crap. How on earth were they added to that list number 2? They should never have been on that list. I knew how that list was created. I worked with a company. We created the steps, the processes for how people should have been added to that one. And this person should never have gone through that route because, you know, they never should have gone through that route. I just knew that they shouldn't have. Because, again, I knew how that list was created. But for some reason, even with all of that, they ended up on that second list. And I was like, oh, my God, you can't be serious. Something has to be wrong. So I was like, okay, let me try for somebody else that I know shouldn't be on there. And sure enough, the other person was also on that list. And I was like, no, man, something is wrong, because I know how that list was created. And there's no way these other people should be getting onto there, because they're not going through the right channels to be on that list. So I said, nah, something wrong. So I gotta go look at how this automation is set up. And I went and I clicked on the automation, and there it was, just like how I had discussed it with that company. It was set up that way, how it was supposed to be, how people enter into the whole automation process. But then something was still nagging at me, like, well, if that's how it is, then why is it I found 2 people on a list that they shouldn't be on? So I decided to do some further digging and looked into how the trigger was set up. And when I clicked on how that trigger was set up, I'm telling you, that's where I saw where the problem laid. It was not set up how I thought it was going to be set up. It was not set up how we had discussed it to be set up. It was set up differently. So, again, two choices to make. Do nothing or fix it. So I can tell you this. Doing nothing wasn't in my cards, because that's not who I am. And by the way, as I was going through all of this, I got me an unsubscription, if that's even a word. I got somebody who unsubscribed from a list. And when I checked that person, they too should never have been on that second list either. Yet they were there. So for me, I'm like, nah, I can't ignore this. Not that I was planning to anyways, but I needed to be able to fix it. So I went through the triggers, fixed the trigger. Oh my gosh, that automation is done. I removed people from a list that did not subscribe to, because it's really important that when you're adding people to a list, you give them the opportunity to say yes or no. And these people were just added to a list that they never should have been on, because there was an error in how my automation was set up. So therefore, they should never have been on there in the first place, right? So, okay, fix that problem, remove them from the list. And then I was like, but that didn't really fix the whole problem though, because the email still went out yesterday to at least 50 people who should never have received it, because they never agreed to be on a subscription list with me. So I was like, oh my God, I still have to fix this, because it's not completely fixed. And again, I could either do nothing or figure out a solution, right? So what I decided to do was, I sat down and I wrote an apology email, because that's just who I am. I wrote an apology email, and I said to each and every one of them, yes, I emailed each and every one of them direct. And some of you might be saying 50 people ain't nothing, you could forget about it, they're probably even going to notice. But to me, those 50 people mattered. And some of you might even be saying, well, you could have run an automation and just sent an apology automation. But again, that would have meant I added them to a list that they did not agree to be on. So being who I am, I sat down and I sent out individual emails to all of those people. And I personalized it to each and every one of them, because I was truly sorry that they got placed on the list and got an email that they should not have gotten. Granted, the email was not a bad email. That's not the whole point of this. The point of it is, when we subscribe to newsletters, we are willingly subscribing to newsletters. We're not clicking on something and expecting that, at least we're not thinking that somebody's going to then add us to some sales list. That's not why we do it. When we are added to a sales list, we are consciously making that decision to be added. You're given that opportunity to say yes or no to your email being used in any type of campaigns. And that's not what happened with these individuals. So that's why for me, I had to do something and make it personal. And that's what I did. So I did it. I sat down and I spent 2 hours sending out this email to individual people. And yeah, you might be saying, hey, that's a long time. Again, I should have done automation, or just ignore it. But that's not who I am. I did reorganize my day so that I could send these emails to these individuals. And by the time I'm doing this video, at least 10 of them had responded saying, thank you so much for the apology. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for explaining the situation. And that really reaffirmed the reason why I did it, because each one of them, we had connected on a different level. We were building our networks, and I did not want to damage that networking relationship, that possible referral relationship. And to have people say, thank you so much for being transparent. Thank you, for owning up to your mistake. It really meant a lot to me. So I learned a lot today to believe in myself too, because I could have simply said, hey, I don't have the skill sets to be doing this, but I do. I do have the technology skill set and I know how to navigate the system, the automation system, and I was able to find the problem and to fix it, and then also come up with a solution. So what I learned today is, don't carry your mistakes around with you. Instead, place them under your feet and use them as stepping stones to rise above them. Again, I'm not sure who said it. I found this quote online. So my lesson that I learned today is, I have the skills to navigate technology and the automation program to find that solution, to find that problem, identify that solution, to take action to fix the problem. And like I always say, solutions plus actions equals results. I'm Dr. Priscilla Kuser with Priscilla Kuser Consulting Solutions. Thank y'all so much for watching my video. Bye.